What if magic was never about power, but about hidden truths? Imagine a world where magic reflects your deepest fears and desires. Not spells, not wands, but something far more personal and dangerous. Epic fantasy has always shown magic as a force beyond understanding. But what if magic is actually a mirror of the human soul? Think about the stories you love, the heroes you admire. What role does magic truly play in their journey? Is it a weapon, a gift, or a burden they cannot escape? Every magical moment carries a deeper meaning beneath its surface, and most people never stop to question what that meaning is. Magic in epic fantasy is rarely just about casting powerful spells. It often represents something much more symbolic and deeply emotional. Sometimes it reflects the internal struggles of the characters themselves. Other times, it exposes truths that characters try desperately to hide. Magic becomes a language that speaks without using any words. A silent storyteller revealing secrets no one dares to acknowledge. And that is where things begin to get interesting. Because suddenly, magic is no longer just entertainment or fantasy. It becomes a reflection of human nature and its complexities. Think about the last time a magical scene gave you chills. Was it the spell or the emotion behind that moment? That feeling you experienced was not accidental or random. It was carefully crafted to resonate deep within your mind. Magic taps into something ancient that we all recognize subconsciously, a connection to mystery, fear, hope, and transformation. In many stories, magic is tied directly to personal growth. Characters evolve as they learn to control or understand it. But sometimes, magic controls them instead, leading to chaos. And that duality is what makes magic so fascinating. It is both creation and destruction at the same time. It offers power, but demands a heavy price in return. And that price is often emotional rather than physical. This is where the symbolism starts to reveal itself. Magic begins to represent choices and consequences in disguise. It becomes a test of character rather than ability. Who you are determines how magic responds to you. Not everyone can wield it without losing something important. And not everyone deserves the power they seek so desperately. That tension creates unforgettable moments in epic fantasy stories, because the real battle is not external, but internal. Magic simply amplifies what already exists within the character. It exposes strengths, weaknesses, fears, and hidden intentions. And sometimes, it reveals truths even the character fears. This is why magic often feels alive and unpredictable. It reacts, evolves, and challenges those who attempt to control it. It is never just a tool, but almost a living force, a force that tests the boundaries of human understanding. And that raises an important question for every viewer. Are we truly watching magic or watching human nature unfold? Because the line between the two becomes increasingly blurred. The more you look, the more connections you begin to see. Suddenly, magic is no longer just fantasy entertainment. It becomes a philosophical exploration of identity and purpose. Why do some characters rise, while others fall into darkness? What role does magic play in shaping their destiny? And more importantly, what does that say about us? These questions are not just about fictional worlds. They reflect real struggles we face in our everyday lives. Power, temptation, fear, and the search for meaning. Magic simply gives these concepts a visual and dramatic form. It allows us to explore them in a safe environment. But the lessons we learn are very real and powerful. That is why epic fantasy continues to captivate audiences worldwide. It speaks to something deeper than just adventure and spectacle. It touches the core of what it means to be human. And magic is the key that unlocks that exploration, a key that opens doors to both light and darkness. But here is where things start to shift dramatically, because not all magic is created equal in these stories. Some forms of magic carry meanings that go unnoticed. Others hide truths that completely change how we see everything. And once you notice these patterns, you cannot unsee them. The stories begin to feel deeper, darker, and more meaningful. You realize magic was never just about fantasy at all. It was always about something much closer to home. Now imagine a young hero discovering magic for the first time. At first, it feels like a blessing beyond anything imaginable. Power flows through them, unlocking abilities they never dreamed possible. But slowly, something begins to feel different, almost unsettling. The magic starts responding to emotions instead of pure intention. Anger makes it stronger, but also more unpredictable and dangerous. Fear causes it to spiral out of control completely, and doubt weakens it at the most critical moments. Suddenly, magic is no longer just a skill to master. It becomes a reflection of emotional stability and inner strength. This is where epic fantasy reveals its deeper storytelling genius. Magic is used as a metaphor for personal growth and struggle. Think about how many heroes must first face themselves before they can ever truly control the magic within them. It is not about learning spells from ancient books. It is about understanding who they really are inside. And that journey is often painful, confusing, and overwhelming, because facing your true self is never an easy process. Some characters embrace this challenge and grow stronger through it. Others resist, and their magic slowly begins to consume them. This creates a powerful contrast between light and darkness, not as external forces, but as internal battles. Magic becomes the stage where these battles are played out, and every choice the character makes shapes their destiny. Take the example of forbidden magic in many fantasy worlds. It is often described as dangerous, corrupting, and uncontrollable. But why does it exist in the first place? What does it represent beyond just a darker power source? Forbidden magic often symbolizes temptation and unchecked ambition, the desire to gain power without understanding its consequences. It reflects the human tendency to take shortcuts in life, even when those shortcuts lead to destruction and regret. Characters who use forbidden magic often believe they are justified. They convince themselves that the end will justify the means. But slowly, the magic begins to change who they are. Their intentions shift, their morality weakens, and control slips away. And before they realize it, they are no longer themselves. This transformation is one of the most powerful symbols in fantasy. It shows how power can corrupt even the purest intentions, and how easy it is to lose yourself in pursuit of control. On the other hand, some magic systems require balance to function. Light and dark must coexist for the magic to remain stable. This represents harmony within the human psyche and emotions, accepting both strengths and flaws as part of identity. Characters who achieve this balance often become the strongest, not because they have more power, but because they understand themselves. This is a subtle but powerful message hidden in storytelling. True strength comes from awareness, not just raw ability. Magic simply amplifies what already exists within the individual. That is why two characters can use the same magic differently. One creates life, while the other brings destruction. The difference lies in their mindset, not the magic itself. Now think about magical creatures in these fantasy worlds. Dragons, spirits, and ancient beings often guard magical secrets. These creatures are not just obstacles or allies in stories. They often represent wisdom, fear, or the unknown aspects of life. Facing them becomes a symbolic journey of confronting deeper truths. The hero must prove more than strength to overcome them. They must show courage, humility, and understanding. And that is where magic becomes a test of character. It is not about defeating the creature or mastering the spell. It is about earning the right to move forward. This adds layers of meaning to what seems like simple adventure. Every magical encounter carries emotional and symbolic weight. Every victory represents more than just physical success. It reflects growth, transformation, and deeper understanding. But here is where things become even more intriguing. Because sometimes, magic is not meant to be controlled at all. Some stories suggest magic has its own will and purpose. It chooses who can use it and who cannot. This completely shifts how we understand its symbolism. Magic becomes less about power and more about responsibility. And not everyone is meant to carry that responsibility, which raises a powerful and unsettling question. What if magic was never yours to control in the first place? What if everything you believed about magic was incomplete? What if magic was never meant to be controlled at all? Imagine magic as something far greater than human understanding. Not a tool, but a force observing and responding to humanity. A force that does not obey, but evaluates those who seek it. Suddenly, the entire perspective begins to shift dramatically. The hero is no longer the master of magic. The hero becomes a participant in something much bigger. Magic is not serving them, it is testing them constantly. Every spell cast becomes a question rather than an answer. Are you worthy of this power, or just desperate for control? This changes how we interpret every magical moment in stories. It is no longer about winning battles or defeating enemies. It becomes about understanding purpose and accepting responsibility. And that realization can be both empowering and terrifying. Because it means magic was never neutral or passive. It reacts to intention, morality, and emotional truth. In some stories, magic disappears when it is misused repeatedly. Entire worlds lose their magic due to human greed and corruption. This is not just a plot device, but a powerful symbol. It represents how misuse of power leads to irreversible consequences, and how some things, once lost, can never be restored. But here comes the deeper and more unsettling truth. What if magic is not just symbolic within stories? What if it reflects something about our real world? Not literal spells, but the idea of power itself. Influence, knowledge, technology, and even personal growth. All of these can be seen as forms of magic today. And just like in fantasy, they come with responsibility. The more power you gain, the more it shapes you, and the more it reveals who you truly are inside. Some people use power to create and uplift others. Others use it to control, manipulate, and destroy. The difference is never the power itself. The difference is always the person behind it. This is the ultimate symbolism hidden within epic fantasy magic. Magic is not the focus. Humanity is. It is a lens through which we examine ourselves, our fears, our desires, and our deepest insecurities. And that is why these stories stay with us forever. They are not just tales of adventure and imagination. They are reflections of our own internal struggles. But here is the final twist that changes everything. What if you are already living with your own form of magic? Not spells or potions, but choices and actions every day. Every decision you make shapes your future and identity. Every habit you build becomes a force in your life. Your mindset determines how you use the power you have. And just like in fantasy, there is always a price: time, energy, focus, and sometimes even relationships. The question is not whether you have power or not. The question is how you choose to use it. Will you let it control you, or will you grow through it? Will you chase shortcuts, or build something meaningful over time? This is where the line between fantasy and reality disappears, because the symbolism was never meant to stay fictional. It was always meant to teach and challenge you, to make you question your own path and intentions, to remind you that power without awareness leads to destruction, and awareness without action leads to missed opportunities. So the next time you watch a fantasy story unfold, do not just focus on the magic and spectacle. Look deeper into what that magic represents. Observe how characters change as they interact with it, and ask yourself what lessons you can take from it, because those lessons are more valuable than the story itself. They have the potential to change how you think, how you act, and how you see your own life. And that is where the true power of storytelling lies, not in escaping reality, but in understanding it better. So here is your challenge moving forward. Start noticing the magic in your own daily decisions. Recognize the power you already hold within yourself. And most importantly, choose to use it wisely. Because in the end, you are the true source of magic.